going to be Marine Lord versus Vortex, High View, Rus on Mongol. Now that has tickled my fancy. Let's get underway. Damn, I actually, like, for a moment, that looked like the sheep was some sort of icon next to Marine Lord's name. That looks so dope. But yes, so in this one, first thing to keep in mind is I stand by the statement that I think this is, like, one of the Rus's best map. Outside Boulder Bay, no duh. Let's talk about Captain Obvious. But, like, I actually rate Rus incredibly highly. I think, like, the optimal build hasn't been cracked yet still. But I think there's definitely a lot of value, like scalability with hunting cabins as well on the Stealth Forest. Like, there's a lot of flexibility the Rus have. They're very good as, like, an early night tempo civ on this map. I think they can heavily utilize archers. And also, depending on, like, the generation where your opponent's base is, ram rushes are an option as well. And I think, like, also Mongols in comparison struggle a bit on this map. I think the big issue I see in this game is if this game goes too late with this map layout, with this style of map, I think this matchup favors the Rus fairly heavily. If we get to like a 40, 50-minute game, I think Rus can very easily dominate this entire game. So I think it's going to be very key for Vortex to kind of like up the aggression early on and find a way of kind of blocking his opponent out from that progression. And with the generation opener, I've got to say he's pretty well postured for that. Like, this is actually... This might be the closest I've seen two stone outcroppings for a Mongol player in quite a long time. Like, this is very nice for him. There's a lot of condensed elements that really work out nice for Vortex, because something that a lot of Mongol players have got better at doing is just exploiting early stone, nearby stone outcroppings compared to gold mines. The reason being, like, yeah, gold vein's great, and all, you know, getting gold is great. But the reality is, like, you'll eventually move out and solidify control there with outposts and your network with step readouts. But Uvu's really changed the game early for you, because the economical benefits you get from the pastures in this phase of the game, they add up so much. It's the ripple effect, right? Like, if I pad my food economy now, I don't reach a starvation point. I can just critical mass, like, there's no critical mass, right? The critical mass barrier gets higher. So it doesn't mean I have to worry about padding myself with additional pastures quicker, sacrificing eco elsewhere. If I'm able to drop it underneath this Uvu, which is feasible if it's right next to my TC, then I actually essentially, like, save half of the cost of keep pushing out, like, all these pastures. Because remember, they're not cheap, folks. Pastures are 150 wood. That is a heavy burden on your early game economy. And for comparison, like, if you want to see a difference, there's definitely been replays where you can watch Mongol and Mongols, and one of them has an Uvu nearby and the other one doesn't. And the difference is, like, when the pasture player only requires 2 Uvus to sustain his economy, the non-Uvu player is, like, floating 5. It's ridiculous how much you save by having an Uvu close like this at the beginning. So yeah, kind of interesting to see a lot of players prioritize that instead. The cool thing as well is, like, you don't necessarily need gold at all times. You can make choices. So the whole point in this strategy is, now that you go for the gold on the Uvu, you can now tap yourself up into feudal. Once you're in feudal, you can make the conscious choice of whether you double greed, or if you're being pressured by your opponent, you say, fine, I actually don't need more gold right now, and you build a defense force. And then you control the flow. That's the whole point, is, like, you have that flexibility. And that flexibility is enabled by the fact that if you come under fire here and you're pushed underneath your TC, you have a condensed economy courtesy of these pastures. You're able to continue to just, you know, let the juice flow through the system to, you know, quote a red alert 2 line. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't really clock, is in a lot of ways, when you think about how pastures function, they allow a similar playstyle to what a certain civ on the other side kept doing before with the Pro Scouts, right? You condense your economy. You keep everything safe under a TC, and you just munch constantly until you're ready to come out. And outside of, like, some very strong, dominant, like, very all-in timings, it's very hard for players to completely invalidate you and deny you that as your win condition. But let's talk about win condition in this, because we already highlighted that Marine Lord can play for a much later timing. But I think Marine Lord has a little bit more flexibility in what he can do in this matchup. So if he sees that Vortex has been a little bit greedy, sometimes Rus players will dive in with Knights. They can also go hard into archer ranges. Courtesy of the Wooden Fortress for this civ and the Golden Gate trades, it's actually feasible for the Rus to float, like, 3 archer ranges very quickly in Fuel Age compared to a lot of other civs. And that can lead to a ramp up into rams that allows you to, like, close out the game. But look at this. Wow. I noticed this. I was like, I see the landmark upgrade. So that doesn't look familiar. We don't see that as often, but we have seen more players attempting this in the last week or two. The Silver Tree from the Mongols. In a lot of ways, it kind of makes sense. We just talked about how the Mongols don't play for feudal as much anymore. They're more of a castle age, and then, you know, you want to try and win out in, like, mid-late game castle. And with that being the variable you're considering, like if you're just targeting out castle as quickly as possible, then you get limited value out of a Deerstone. Deerstone has always been that type of landmark choice that really screams, I'm going to prolong feudal, because the whole idea is you get access to Yam earlier. You can get Yam otherwise. It's just usually it's locked behind tech requirements. So Silver Tree really is more about that scalability, with Vortex now being able to quickly target out a castle age timing. And then if this game like goes hyper late, this has been something that like potentially pads the weakness I was talking about in the Mongols in like 40, 50 minute plus games, is you actually have this wiggle room to go ahead and trade. And if you get trade, then you get infinite gold generation. Whereas before, if you're talking about going into the Deerstone and then dropping the step readout, you're getting a lot of gold, don't get me wrong, but that gold is limited, right? Especially on maps like Highview, there's a notable lack of gold veins you can quickly tap through. Once they're gone, that's it. Like, you're kind of game over. You don't your gold cap, you don't have any more. Whereas Silver Tree gives you that infinite scalability, something that you're going to need against civs like the Roos. Roos, who, especially on this map, can actually float themselves in the late game with passive gold, generated through the relics gathering, which they'll usually get into because they get Abbey of Trinity, and then also hunting cabins, just giving this passive gold income based on trees nearby. And look at this, Marine Lord. This is a more popular play. I love this more and more as I see it more and more. It's something so easy for the Roos to do, but Marine Lord done it a little bit different. So the way this strategy usually works is you go for a secondary TC as the Roos by gathering the required wood and then just trading. Just straight away you trade for the stone. But interestingly enough, Marine Lord done this the other way around. So usually what happens is a mining camp might get plopped on the gold vein. Well, definitely get plopped on the gold vein for the Roos because they don't just rely on horse archers anymore. And then you don't put a mining camp for the stone. You just buy it. But instead, Marine Lord done the reverse. He mined the stone and ignored gold entirely. This is very kind of ballsy. It might kind of bite him if he wants to go for a quick castle. But in terms of like how he's going to scale, he's now looking to just kind of essentially float his economy as long as possible in feudal, and I reckon he'll then look to hard rush castle as soon as he sees Vortex do it. In fact, he might also just go hard aggression. Yeah, it looks like the stable archery range, double stable in fact, so he is going to look to just try and ramp up those dive-ins, understanding that Vortex probably doesn't want to play feudal, just because no Mongol wants to play feudal right now. I don't remember the last time I saw a Mongol player play hard into feudal, and it looked good. It's very difficult, and your window is very small now, but Vortex definitely very vulnerable at this point in the game, considering he went into that trade, and considering that this did get scouted out. I believe Marine Lord did get eyes on it when he wrapped around the scouts, so he knows this trade is going on, and with the Knights, he can completely disrupt this. Marine Lord, as per usual, doing well on the bounty, right? He got up to 315, which is a respectable number. Like, 315 is good enough to enable the tech up, and then being able to buy one load of stone, wood, or food. So overall, like a nice number to stop at. Obviously, if you get more, you get more. But I think like if you get at least 250, I've always been kind of believing this. You get 250 at least as the Roos, you're pretty content with the game. Anything above that feels like a bonus, right? It's kind of like the logic of, you know, the Renix Cathedral and banking 2 relics is like the nice float point. If you can get 3 though, holy crap, yeah, you'll take that. Like, but you can easily maintain yourself and excel at that time in the game as the HRE if you get 2 relics banked. Now Horseman riding out as well. I love this choice. Knights would have made sense if you need to go into the direct economy, but because he scouted out, I do believe he did see this, like because he's wrapped around the scouts before, he should see the network. If he can scout this out, like he can potentially dive in with the Horseman and snipe caravans. It is going to be risky with all these outposts going down, but at this stage in the game, you can get away with Horseman. If we were talking Castle Age, you need Knights due to the Springwood upgrades. But right now, it's just arrow slits, so Horsemen actually fare pretty well with their 2 ranged armor. Trade continues. I didn't quite catch whether Vortex kept the Silver Tree close at the beginning. I would imagine he did do so, considering what his like stone numbers are. Because basically, folks, the play that you make with the Silver Tree is you build it right next to the Uvu, and you generate your first few traders at double the capacity. Because remember, you can pay stone and push out 2 units instead of 1. And because he was floating all of his stone, he wasn't spending it on like, you know, early horsemen or archers or whatever. He actually had that surplus to accelerate the rate at which he'd actually reach the critical mass of traders needed to make this worthwhile. And you can see the critical masses there, like cracking tier 1, 2, and 3 already being done. He's now actually returning a decent amount of resources, but he's in trouble. Marine Lord's not going to let it stand, and he's going to catch him wanting. Archer's moving across as well, trying to burn down the outpost first of all. Really needs to start focus firing onto those traders, moving in with the archers, and this is going to hurt. Vortex, he needs a defense force, and this is the weakness of going all in like this, especially on an open map like Highview. Especially against a high-tempo player like Marine Lord. If he sees you show weakness like this, and you don't posture with a show of strength for military force, he will punish you, and that's what's happening. And garrisoning an outpost that's about to burn down is not the move. And even more traders are going to fall. Trying to build even more outposts up. That might get scouted. It depends how far in Marine Lord wants to push, though. And with more archers coming in, he will push it. And Vortex, this is going to cripple him heavily. He only just started to return the bang for buck for this investment. And Marine Lord, although he heavily invests into the fuel age, it's paying off. And even more garrisoning coming out. I mean, that's a lot of villages here as well. But it looks like Marine Lord doesn't have enough horsemen to burn this down quick enough. So he's going to take heavy losses into his military count before he gets through it, if he gets through it. And it looks like he will have to back away. That's really important as well. Should that outpost go down, that's potentially 4 villages being sacrificed. That's a few more traders being sacrificed. And that's also trade being prevented for another minute. A critical point in the game for Vortex. So Vortex buys himself a lifeline, but now he needs to buffer himself. And that's why he goes into Horseman. He sees this investment, right? He makes Marine Lord show his hand first. The issue with this is, although it's really good if you can make your opponent show his hand first, it's bad if when showing their hand, they actually backhand you, right? Which is essentially what Marine Lord done. With the Horseman and Archer show, he backhanded Vortex and his greedy trade eco. And now he's doing it again. Because he tried to rebuild the outpost network. Spearman moving out, but Archers are able to address that. And a few more traders are going to fall, and this is a heavy hit for Vortex. Remember, when you start sacrificing this many traders, you start to lose those tiers. Luckily for him, he's still up at 9, so he's not missing out in that regard, but this is starting to hurt. It's not stopping him from scaling, though. We can see on the food front. But keep in mind that Vortex, like, this is his eco hit, right? This is, in the comparative strategies, this is comparative to having your villagers sniped out. And we can see it on the eco numbers. Marine Lord is 4 ahead. And his villagers have this flexibility of being unhindered, right? Like gathering on the deer right now. They can switch over to wood. They'll expand out quickly. And also, because you're dragging all of Vortex's attention back here, keeping him in a defensive posture, you can get very greedy with where you send villagers. You don't have to worry about Vortex's raids, because instead, he's stuck here at all times defending himself. And Marine Lord, I'm not sure if that's the way you want to micro that. Spearman getting hits under the horseman, but there's just too many horses here. The traders were AFK. They'll back up again and go for the garrison, but this forward outpost, only having 1 villager in it and no arrow slits upgrade, means it's all too easy to burn down. Just trying to bait Vortex out once more. And this is the detail that matters, right? Like, even if you aren't killing all the traders now, then you're killing his trade. He's not gathering anything out of this. He's not getting value. He's investing more troops to stay here and do nothing. Meanwhile, Marine Lord is continuing to scale that economy because there are villagers at home doing whatever they want. Vortex, just so much invested and so much lost. And keep in mind that, you know, this is pretty crippling. Like, you're trying to get these timings. You're slowing yourself down every time you have to build additional outposts. That costs another 100 wood. You need that wood to build traders, 75 of it, in fact. And also, that is a limited resource on this map. This generation especially, there's only 2 wood lines that are feasible in the mid to long term for Vortex without him having to move out into very risky territory. And look at this Marine Lord reposturing now. I think he just realized what I was about to say, which is that he doesn't need to attack the south side because Vortex hasn't defended the north side. So if he just wraps on that side, then once again, he can't trade. Oh, this is brilliant from M-Lord. The Frenchman proving just how frustrating he can be, but he isn't going to fully invest just yet. He really could, though. I would be a big fan of this. Just shift to the other side. And then Vortex, although he's padded himself with a ridiculous number of outposts down here, what has he done in the north? Well, he's trying to fix it now, but it's weak. And it looks like Marine Lord instead is going to go back to the south side. A big mistake. Obviously, we have God vision and he doesn't. But he has to sense it, right? Like, he's double invested now. I gave him some wiggle room. There's no way he hasn't built additional outposts. So surely the play is to go to the north side. Because while you're not doing this, now Vortex starting to return the trade. Look at it. He has the required numbers. He is teching up. And he is teching up with the Kurultai. Because why do you need more gold? If you got the trade network going, screw it. You might as well get the damage bonus. Oh, you know, I mean, we were casting some Forest Nothing earlier today, and we were kind of laughing about how that was the only time I was ever going to see Kurultai. But Vortex, looking to fix that, is going for the seemingly forgotten landmark choice of the Mongols, considering how amazing step readout is time and time again. But it's understandable in the situation, right? Like, we talked about how risky gold veins get very quickly for Mongols on this map, and also Vortex isn't playing with a 3rd map control. He's playing with a 5th. Look at this. Like, this is his territory. This is all he has. Outposts to protect this. But this is all he needs. With this trade network going and the amount of resources it's returning, it's going to float him for a long time. So all he needs now is quality over quantity, and that's what the Kurultai is going to unlock with this phenomenal 25% damage buff. Tech ups are mirrored as Marine Lord. We're talking so busy about Vortexes. Marine Lord is quick to make it up as well. And this is where he's going to leverage advantage as well. Because he has so much of the map under his influence, he can easily grab all these relics up. The only one that's going to be hard is, of course, the one near the marketplace, but everything else is likely to not be contested by Vortex, because despite the fact Vortex has made his way up, he might feel the need to take a fight directly with Marine Lord before raiding into his territory, but we'll have to see. I love that M-Lord is shifted out into the boar as well, has padded himself, gets up to the 410 mark, not able to crack the 500, which is why he hasn't rushed out to this boar as well. I don't think there's anything left on the map for him to kill. So really good job by Vortex from denying just enough equity in terms of hunting. The Marine Lord can't crack tier 3 because that would boost his economy much further. And right now, you want to be the eco boomer, right? You want to be ahead in those regards. However, for now, you're definitely being exceeded by Marine Lord on the food front. There's no doubt of that. And right in again, M-Lord has upgraded to Veteran Horseman now. Can dish out a lot of damage. These outposts should start getting Spearwind upgrades soon, though. Looks like he's going to be backed away as he sees Lancers coming out. Going to be forced to fight them for the moment. Archer's trying to do a little bit of a trade out here, but overall, there's no breach point here. M-Lord has to back away. I think this is where he has to just fall back, maybe rethink his plan. I wouldn't mind seeing him bring out 1 or 2 villages and start palisade walling. Just create funnel points, because you have to understand, you just saw that this horseman count is increasing. You saw he's adding lancers as well. Respect the fact that now Vortex has cavalry. He could raid you. And because you've gone double TC and your eco is going to expand so quickly, you're not going to be protected. You're not condensed anymore. You're reaching kind of that critical mass where your villager count is going to flood across the map and be very exploitable by cavalry lineups. Now hard on the racks. So M-Lord really in on the next 5 to 8 minutes. Vortex still playing for like a longer game. We talked about this previously. When you go for like Lancers, you're more about this death by 1,000 cuts, right? These raids that chip away at your opponent time and time again. Compared to the Man-at-Arms, there's very kind of much more stoic, slow-moving, but methodical way of playing the mid-game. It's all about Marine Lord now looking for access to Vortex's base, and once he gets access, he doesn't want to be pushed out. And this is where his access point is going to be. Because if he cuts it off here, he cuts off everything. Vortex is going to be a headless chicken in that situation. And that's why he's starting to amass Man-at-Arms over here. Understanding that they can trade out well with the Lance of the Horseman, with everything, really, because Vortex hasn't made a transition yet. And that's the worrying part for me. Look at Vortex's vision. He really is just playing a dangerous game of cat and mouse here. Being blind for this long, not knowing what's coming next. We talked about the advantages of transitioning second when you're on the defensive. But now you reach a point of disadvantage because there's critical mass logic. There's just so many racks now. 5 racks pushing out Man-at-Arms. And when they do show, you might struggle to get the infrastructure down to actually push out enough cross moment to push Marine Lord away. And right in. Trying to catch that reinforcement line. Mangonel's rolling out as well. This could be big for Vortex. He sees the shots, takes them onto the horseman count instead. Armor arrow coming out from Vortex. Buffering Marine Lord away. Marine Lord with the formation shuffle gets out of range of the Mangonels. Has not built siege himself just yet. He gets caught with his trousers down. Archers will try to trade out as many of the spearmen as possible, but looks like M-Lord is going to lose the main army. He needs to regroup quickly. He's at least building forces back up in his base, but now he has a new conundrum to answer. He needs to address these Mangonels. 1 or 2 horsemen is not going to be good enough. An ambitious play by Vortex. 1 spearman trying to build a spearman on the front line will be spotted out. And now Vortex finally getting eyeballs on what his opponent is doing. He'll see the crossbowmen, he'll see the archers, he'll see the Man-at-Arms. He understands the composition, and he understands that actually these Mangonels are still the game breaker. And Marine Lord needs an answer soon. M-Lord, yeah, I was about to say, Siege Workshop's still not there. He's finally going to build them now, but this is very, very late. This could cost him dearly. If he takes a bad fight, he might be forced to sacrifice the 4th military district. More Magos are now being built up by Vortex. Aggressively postured, but not too aggressive still. Will force a fight. Mangonel shots lining up. Onto the Archer Battalion. A bunch of crossbowmen falling. Nice hits there. Wrap around though. Marine Lord getting around the back. Ignored as he flanks to the side. Magos are exposed. Torches fire is going to come out. And they're just going to turn on the Magos to try and burn them down because the main fight has been lost. Vortex able to push forward. 2 of the Mangonels are going to survive. And big mistake made by Marine Lord. That mistake enabled by the fact that he's playing blind into this area. By the time he sees it, it's a little bit too late. Archer able to clean up another one. MVP there. As there's only one Mangonel left, but with troops remaining for Vortex and postured outside of Marine Lord's base, now he gets to ride in. This is where we see Lance's advantage. As M-Lord only having archers in the field and spearmen, not able to easily gap close onto these heavily armored knights. Means Marine Lord in a little bit of trouble. He did at least pad himself on the east side with these walls going down, but no such luxury on the west. And that's something where he's still exposed. You can see him just moving out into these more risky areas, looking for the wood, looking for the food. If Vortex ever sniffs this out, he's going to be in big trouble. Vortex renews the Mangonel count. And this is where it can get a little bit dangerous. Have the Springald difference. Vortex got too greedy. He never built Springalds. And the movement through with the Horsemen, with the Lancers, too slow. Wallalow buffer him away. A Marine Lord, this switch over. And the choice to go Siege Workshop, not once but twice, is going to allow him to build up a critical mass of Springalds to hold Vortex back. Vortex floating just enough wood and gold to build up a bigger army. That could be the difference maker here. All because no more raids have been occurring here, and the count keeps increasing. Vortex now up to 34 traders, making huge bundles of gold and wood. And you can see the numbers right there. The gold is the big difference maker here. Just able to float more siege weapons than Marine Lord is capable of. Vortex. Still no Ford network. It feels like he's been playing this territory game so condensed for so long that he's forgotten he can move out now. Like, it's good that he's staging armies forward, but it's bad that he's not actually getting outposts forward. This is one of my big pet peeves when Mongol players on the defensive take control of the game. A lot of them genuinely just forget to build forward outposts. That Yan movement speed is huge. 15% maneuverability increase for you is huge. It makes your Lancers quick enough to chase down Horsemen. Makes your Horsemen quick enough to chase down bullets. As they move at the speed of light. And even your Magos, your Springalds, everything just moves quicker. It's totally worth getting. At the moment, it will not hinder him as he pushes in deeper. Mangonel shots coming out. That shuffle not working in Marine Lord's advantage, but the Springalds are. And Vortex, look how slow he is to shift away or shift in. He'll look for the trade, but the trades right now, Marine Lord's getting reasonable value getting rid of the Springald army. We'll snipe them out. One Springald a little bit too far forward, backs up the entire army, garrisons it in fact, then Vortex is going to flood in. And M-Lord, he's in trouble. Look at Zico at the back. Oh my god. Does Vortex know? Vortex is going to try and wipe out the army. After that, he might just shift past this, and M-Lord's whole entire economy is just going to grind to a halt. And that just might be the game. Magos getting in range. Wrap around, burning down the Springalds. Marine Lord has no standing army anymore, folks, and he will call it. He will give up. Vortex, dominant here, understands when he's strong. Maybe not optimal on the outpost placement on the front line, but definitely optimal back at home, and proves exactly why Silver Tree can be a valid choice. Really well played as well. I mean, big credit. Credit is you. We kind of questioned a few things with Vortex there. Was there going to be enough pressure coming out? Marine Lord doing a good job of applying that pressure early on as well. But I think the big issue in this game for me is that M-Lord had a prime opportunity to completely obliterate Vortex's timings in the northeast. If he had actually shifted his attention from the southwest side of that trade network to the northeast, you saw it. Vortex wasn't prepped, and he thought that M-Lord was coming. And even if M-Lord had gone once the buildings begin, I don't think there's enough there from Vortex to initially protect himself. And then that also opens up new floodgates, right? Like if you go for some early knights and you send them to the south side, you continue to raid at both sides. And the big issue for Vortex is he doesn't have the critical mass of defense force to hold both sides. So I think M-Lord kind of missed a trick here, and that does come down to vision. This is one of the pesky details of high view, and that's why it's all the more impressive that Vortex identified this and exploited it. Out of all the maps to go Silver Tree on, not many people would ballsily attempt this one, but if you get those initial outposts down, you understand that you have vision game advantage, and that's where you can actually strip M-Lord of control. Marine Lord is very much a player that utilizes scouting heavily to find exploitable weaknesses in his opponent's base. But that was something we didn't really see in this game. His initial scouts get sniped, and after that, it feels like they never get replaced or utilized in a way that feels very kind of craft player-esque. And Vortex, being a craft player himself, seemingly identifies this, knowing that he's not being spotted because the outpost can see everything, understands just how greedy he can get and how kind of teeter-totting the line he can be with setting up these defenses in different locations along the caravan route. Really well played by Vortex.